Boy, that took longer than it should have, but it was worth the wait. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Caleb Wilson, Tar Heel.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Well, I guess technically it's Friday, January 24th, 2025. Man, emergency reaction pod coming at you in the early morning hours. Caleb Wilson is a Tar Heel. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I don't know if this is true or not, but the only North Carolina show staying up until the middle of the night to bring you this breaking news. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. It's great to be together. I got a nap in early evening. Hope you did too. Hope you got some coffee or caffeine or something. And it's great to be together to chat right after Caleb Wilson commits to Carolina on TNT. This little emergency reaction pod is brought to you by GameTime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, guys, look, I know it's like 1:30 on the East Coast, 12:30 my time here in Central Time, but we already got 100 plus people in here. Let's get after it. This is going to be fun. I'll go ahead and say this now so I don't forget. Friday's show, I wanted to wait to record it until we got the Caleb Wilson news. So live in about, 8 hours from now at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, we're going to do Friday's show live on YouTube. So we'll talk more about Caleb Wilson. We'll get ready for the Boston College game coming up on Saturday and amongst some other things as well. So make sure you tune in with us for that. All right, just want to do 15, maybe 20 minutes tonight, and then we all need to go to bed and get ready for Friday. But first off, look, we're going to celebrate here in a second. We're going to get to that. But good grief. Was this really the best way to do this? I mean, I am so happy for the Tar Heels and for all of us and for Caleb Wilson and his family. But surely there's a better way than keeping everybody up till 1:30 a.m. Eastern time to make this happen. I think I need to move to Pacific time right now where it's only 10:30. I could deal with that a little better. I mean, legitimately, why are we staying up so late for this thing? And beyond that, it's like, I'm tuning into TNT to watch this thing, and I'm being forced to stare at Shaq's creepy as crap toenails. Like, what on earth? I felt like it was a fever dream, whatever. Legitimately, I was starting to get worried that I was like, is it April 1st? Is this some elaborate prank that TNT and the Wilson family have colluded to pull off against us all, and this is not actually going to happen? I don't know, but anyway, here we are. We're going. And then the other thing that was weird is until that last commercial break, they never teased it. I feel like anytime something like this is happening, it's like right out of the gate. You say, hey, coming up later on the show, we got a college announcement coming up from a young man named Caleb Wilson, local right here in Atlanta, right? Nothing. None of that until the commercial break, literally right before it happened. But look, finally we get there. And man, just what a cool moment to come back from commercial. And Caleb's just sitting there. And obviously all the noise had been Caleb Wilson to North Carolina, right? We were now expecting that. And then the moment, though, that it was solidified was Ernie said, Kenny, the floor is yours. And the second he passed that off to Kenny to set it up, you knew that the Jet was bringing it home and that it was going to be the Tar Heels. I love that they set it all up. There was the confetti that went off. Ramses was back there. Ready to go and dap up Caleb. I love they panned and you see all his family out there. And so that makes all of it worth the wait. Am I right? Yes, 100%. So I hope you enjoyed that. And then as they were tuning out and finishing, the Jet says, we back, ladies and gentlemen, we back. And that's the vibes, man. You love it. It's great. Who knows what's going to ultimately happen with what this roster will fully look like. But this is what we've been waiting for, and getting past all the TNT stuff. That's where I really want to start. Much has been made of the fact that Carolina and Coach Davis and his staff put out a ton of offers to the elite players in this class. I mean, we're talking the Boozer twins, AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson, Koa Pete, Braylon Mullins, Nick Homenia, Isaiah Harwell, Jasper Johnson, and on and on and on. There were so many of them. And I think a lot of the Carolina fan base, as some of those guys have committed elsewhere, there's been like consternation of like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. What's going to happen? We're not getting any of these guys. And the only one left is Caleb Wilson. And he's a Kentucky lean. He's going to go play with Jasper Johnson, his friend. And all of that was a thing. Well, the fact of the matter is, let's be honest, you make every one of those offers knowing that you're not going to land them all. In fact, you can't and really don't want to land them all, but you cast a wide net in the hopes that you land one, maybe two of those young men. That's what you're looking for. And so now all of that consternation is a moot point because Caleb Wilson is a Tar Heel. That's what matters. So I know I do the same thing, right? It's so easy to get all wrapped up and worried. And are we going to get any of these guys? Especially because we've all got PTSD and we're all triggered from what happened last summer where we didn't land a high-end elite front court player that we were looking for, with all due respect to Van Allen Lubin. And so, sure, this came down to the last elite player on your board, but you got him. You got him, and that's great. And now you can move forward. And that's the key. That is the key, that you landed somebody. Because Coach Davis, man, with everything that's been going on, needed to land an elite prospect in the class of 2025. And this is it. Caleb Wilson, and now he's done it. Because the truth is, roster management in this day and age is wildly different than that many. I'm 40 years. Actually, today's my birthday eve, so I'll be 41 tomorrow on Saturday. I've lived the vast majority of my life when building a roster is about building over time and development, and not that that's gone and done and out the door, but it's less of a thing now, because roster construction now is about landing, for me, for a blue blood anyway, 1 to 2 one and done type guys. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 development level freshmen who may pop and may be ready to go their first year, but they're in that top 50 to 60 range where they come in and really can be 2, 3, 4-year players for you. And that's what Carolina's other 2 commits in this class of 2025 are, Isaiah Dennis and Derek Dixon. That's what you got already, and that's what you're looking for. And then you're looking for players in the portal to fill specific areas of need or gaps, or maybe sometimes a frontline starter, as you got last year with like a Harrison Ingram or a Cormac Ryan. And then clearly you've also got to retain your current roster. That's all what matters. Well, as for Caleb Wilson, man, what a meandering, all over the place recruitment this has been. If you've tracked this thing, man, it's like every fan base he's been with, it's like he has a way to be able to make that fan base feel like they've got it. Like they're going to land his commitment. Like they're the brightest shining star in the room. And I don't mean that as like he's being duplicitous or anything. It's just like, I just think Caleb's got a really neat personality that a lot of people gravitate to. And that's going to make him a kind of a beloved guy when he comes to North Carolina. And even before that, I guess we should say, in truth. So it's been all over the place. And it's funny because it's very similar to Ian Jackson. I've said this multiple times. I'll say it again right now. With Ian Jackson, Kentucky, Big Blue Nation, John Calipari, all the way. And then literally the morning of Ian Jackson's commitment, there started to be these whispers that Ian Jackson actually wasn't going to commit to Kentucky that day. And it was actually going to be the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Thank goodness that happened, because I don't know where this offense would be without it. I know he's in a little bit of a 2-game rut right now. Fine, whatever. Ian will get there. But it was similar here, because for a long time, it had been Caleb Wilson is a Kentucky lean, and he's going to go to Kentucky. And then about a week or 2 ago, the noise started to change, and there was movement back in the Chapel Hill direction. Very interested and very excited for more info to come out about the specifics of what went on behind the scenes. I think Joe Tipton might have actually talked about that a little bit today. I'm interested to go check into that, and we can talk about that on the Friday morning show when we dive into this more. But man, really, really good to get this kind of almost, you could almost call it a flip, because it had such a heavy Kentucky lean to it. But again, multiple schools thought that they had a legit shot at Caleb Wilson, but only one got him. And that's the University of North Carolina Tar Heels and Hubert Davis. Way to go. there was this final 5 it came down to, of along with Carolina and Kentucky, Ohio State, which was the final 3, and then you added to that Tennessee and UCF, Central Florida, that both got cut out last week when he narrowed down to a final 3. So obviously we need to talk about what Carolina is getting in Caleb Wilson. We've talked about like kind of the commitment and what it means for the roster and some other stuff like that. And speaking of which, on tomorrow's show, when we go live, I've got my roster. I have, if you track with me, I always make a scholarship chart update, and that's already actually out on social media right now. I posted it the second that all went live. I had sent it, in fact, to our Locked On Tar Heels insiders earlier tonight, but we'll show that on tomorrow's show. So just want to tease that. But I do want to get to here in just a minute what kind of player Carolina is getting in Caleb Wilson, and strengths, where he still needs to grow, and many other things like that. And we'll get to all of that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at GameTime. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience unlike any other. The energy, the excitement, the connection with fans, man, it's unmatched. Unless you go to Carolina and watch them knock off Duke. I remember the thrill of seeing all sorts of games like that. And man, that's what kind of tickets you can get with GameTime. And this year, GameTime is making it even easier to create those unforgettable moments with a brand new feature called GameTime Picks. It filters out the fluff to give you only the best deals on the greatest seats so you can focus on what matters most, just getting there and being there. I recently used GameTime to get tickets for my family to go see Dude Perfect on tour this summer. It's going to be awesome. My kids are stoked about it, and I can't wait. And I'm so grateful to GameTime for the great job they do making that easy as ever. And with the all-in pricing, I didn't have to worry about taxes or fees on the back end. I could see exactly what I was going to pay. And they've got the view from your seat right there in the app. And I was able to see, all right, that's how we'll see the stage. It was awesome. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. If you want to do the same thing, download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Oh, man, thank you so much for joining me late night. I mean, again, we are 1:38 a.m. Eastern time right now. It is 12:38 for me in Central time. It is late, so I love all of you that are hanging out with me, celebrating right now, because you're all too amped to sleep, just like me, and I get it. Let's talk about what Carolina is getting in Caleb Wilson. Critically, here's the thing I want to say foremost above everything else. He, similar to Drake Powell, is a two-way player. Where, if you remember, when we first started hearing the name Drake Powell and learning about him and the fact that he was a heavy Carolina lean almost right out of the gate, defense was what you first heard about with Drake Powell. And then as he went through his junior and senior year, the offense was really starting to come along. And it's like, okay, DP, come on with all of that. And the reason I say that is critical, that Caleb is a two-way player in that regard, is because when you think about Carolina last year, what was the MO? What was the DNA of that team? Defense. It's not that the offense was bad or not good. They were a high level offensive team, but it was the defense that was the calling card of the 23-24 Tar Heels that locked up a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. This year, preseason, all our talk was about, man, this offense is going to go. We don't know what's going to happen to the defense. They could just drop off the cliff. There's not great rim protection. The guards are small. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, right now, when you look at KenPom, it's the defense that is more highly rated than the offense. Once again, Carolina's defense is what is showing up. So that's why I say it's critical that Caleb Wilson has already got so much of that defensive capability to him, because that is what Hubert Davis and the staff will demand of him. And he's already got that in spades. So let's start there. Defensively, for me, this is the side of the court, at least right now in his preparation, where Caleb Wilson shines the brightest. This is the best part of his game. He is switchable. He's got great versatility, can guard down to guard. You think about Seth Trimble and how strong he is and his switchability, or Drake Powell. What's nice about Caleb Wilson's ability to do that is that he does it while being 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan and a 9-foot standing reach. So he can guard down switchably, and that pairs really nicely with some other guys, obviously, depending on who's on the roster next year. We'll get to that on tomorrow's show. So he's got all that, but also, as we think defense, what Caleb brings is he is what I would call a positional rim protector. Caleb is, again, 6'9". He is a power forward kind of by position. But again, I know in this day and age, it's kind of like whatever. But chiefly, he is a 4. And that's great. Carolina needs that. And he's got good positional size as a 6'9" 4, again, with that 7-foot wingspan. But he's a great positional rim protector. This year at Holy Innocents Episcopal School on the north side of Atlanta, he's averaging 3.7 blocks a game. And you might say, all right, Isaac, that's fine, but that's against the other high school competition. What about other elite level competition? Well, let me remind you that Caleb Wilson won the EYBL circuit this summer. He won Peach Jam with his team, the Night Riders, which include, funny enough, the Boozer twins. And what's great about that is even at EYBL against that elite level competition, he still averaged 2.5 blocks a game. I'm not saying he's going to come to Carolina and get that many. He might. But when you think about what is lacking on this year's roster, think about what a relief that will be to have next year. And so hopefully all of that timing and capability as a rim protector will translate. And when you have that at the 4, and keep in mind, if assuming J-Wash is still around, he's really finding himself as a shot blocker right now. You combine those two and great things could very well happen. The other thing I like defensively that Caleb does so well is when you watch tape of him, watch highlights of him, he's got speed, he's got ranginess. I love how Coach Rob described it on today's Locked On Tar Heels episode. If you didn't see that, you should go back and watch it. But he talked about, like, if you put a camera like bird's eye view up above Caleb Wilson and didn't see that he was 6'9", you might think he was a guard because of his ability to move. I love how Coach described that, and it makes a ton of sense to me. But what that allows him to do with that speed, that quickness, athleticism, and ranginess is he can cover up for mistakes. Might be his own mistakes defensively, might be a teammate's defensive mistakes, but he can and will make up for those. That all and more is really encouraging about the defense. Again, that is where Caleb right now stands out to me. Offensively, I want to give us good perspective on what to expect offensively from Caleb. Because often when we think high-end 5-star elite player, which is what Caleb is, right? Like 247 Sports, he's ranked 9th, ESPN 6th, Rivals 5th, On3 6th. So at all 4 of the major recruiting sites, he's ranked 9th or better. And so often when you think about a player like that, you think, oh, this dude must be a walking bucket in the Ian Jackson vein. I want to encourage us to think of him more in the Drake Powell vein. I'm not saying he's Drake Powell. I'm saying, but he's more that type of player where he has got good offensive capability, but he is not a walking bucket. He is inconsistent from 3 at this point. He'll shoot him and he'll knock some down, but he's not at this point. Again, I got to keep emphasizing that at this point in his development, he is not a 40% 3-point shooter. That's not what you're going to get from him. But what you will get is some other high-end things. Offensive rebounding is a place that Carolina has not shined at the same level as they did in the Roy Williams era the last couple of years. Caleb Wilson, offensive rebounder. Caleb Wilson, couple dribbles, get to the rim, boom, you got that. And so what I like about Caleb, and what's interesting, is he's not your primary, like, I'm the dude playmaker, primary scoring option. Second scoring option, perfect. Put him there. I used this kind of talking point with Harrison Ingram so much last year. He was fine at Stanford, but he was not the 5-star player that he projected to be in high school. You know why? Because at Stanford, Harrison Ingram had to be the dude, number 1 on the scouting report for the opposition's defense. When he came to Carolina, he was able to become the guy, able to live up to his ceiling because he didn't offensively have to be the focal point for Carolina. In fact, he was tertiary or 4th, because you had RJ having the year he had last year, and you still had Armando, and you had Cormac, all of that coming together, right? And Elliott distributing. And so that allowed Harrison to really shine. That's the kind of space that I think Caleb Wilson will allow Caleb Wilson to be his best self in terms of how he can shine brightest. Does that make sense? So Carolina needs somebody that can, like, Ian's probably almost definitely gone to the draft, but they need somebody like him where then Caleb can be behind that. Another thing I love, he's right-handed, shoots right-handed, but he's got a nice left hand. You don't have to worry about that. As a rebounder, Caleb can rip and run. And by that, I just mean grab a defensive rebound and lead the break himself. He doesn't have to outlet. If it's faster, sure, do it. But if it makes sense and when it works too, he will grab the rebound and boom, he's gone, like Drake Powell, if I can make that comparison again. And again, on the rebounding, I like that he can help the offensive rebounding, unlike what Carolina has been able to do. So what about areas of growth? What does Caleb still need to do? Well, I've already mentioned the outside shooting still needs to make strides there, and he has to keep working on it, and I believe that he will. He's got to get stronger. Caleb right now, as you look at him, is 6'9", 205-ish, maybe on the south side of 200 just a little bit, depending on how much he eats for breakfast. But that's what Jonas Saration is for. This dude he's going to get him where he needs to be. And as long as Caleb is willing and does put the work in, he will have the strength that he needs to be a dude at North Carolina. So we're going to have much more to talk through about this on tomorrow morning show. I want to encourage you to tune in. Again, that'll be 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right back here on YouTube for those of you watching. I'm going to put this to the audio feed as well. So if you're listening back later, awesome. So glad you're here as well. So that'll be tomorrow's show. We will talk more Caleb Wilson. We'll do the scholarship chart, look at what the roster might have. We'll look ahead to the Boston College game, have our weekend whip around, and so much more. And then Saturday, be sure to tune in for our live postcast after Boston College game, where hopefully Carolina gets back in the win column with a cathartic win over the Eagles, who are literally the worst team in the ACC. So hopefully, man, this Caleb Wilson news is a bright spot in what's been kind of a bummer of a week for Carolina after the Stanford and Wake Forest losses. And we move on from that. Thankfully, though, the Lady Tar Heels got a nice win themselves on Thursday over Wake Forest. At least some modicum of revenge for the guys team. All right, guys, holy smokes. Thank you to the 200 of you that have been hanging out with us at 1:47 a.m. Eastern time. Y'all are insane. I'm insane, but I love it, man. This is what being a rabid fan and somebody who loves to do this is all about. So I am grateful to each of you. If you have not subscribed to our show yet, let me encourage you to do that right now. We are so close to our 10-3 goal, 10,000 YouTube subscribers in the first 3 years of the show. We're like right at 300 more subscribers needed. Would you be the next one? Also, if you have not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, man, it's a great place to be, hanging out with hundreds of other Tar Heels fans, talking about stuff literally all day long. That Discord chat is going off. If you want to go even deeper with the show and get things like, hey, I told our insiders about a week ago, Caleb Wilson has kind of already said privately, I heard from a source that Caleb had committed essentially privately already to Carolina. If you had been an insider, you would have already known that and could have dived in, right? Many other perks as well, but you can find that link in the show notes and come join us on the Insiders. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel, especially today on a day like this. Again, we're going to talk again in a little bit under 8 hours. Can't wait to join you then. Hope you get some rest, and we'll talk soon. But until then, peace.